A strange sound woke up everyone at the human space base on Proxima Centauri B. It was a signal no one had heard before. Lieutenant Samantha Carter was on guard duty that morning. She was there because she had broken a small rule last week. Her boss thought guard duty would teach her a lesson. Samantha looked up at the sky and saw something break through the clouds. It was a ship, but not like any ship humans had ever built. It shone with colors that seemed to move and change. The ship was shaped in ways that didn't make sense to human eyes. It moved like it was dancing through the air and landed without making a sound. Everyone at the base started to run around. The people in charge called for the team that talks to aliens. They tried to get ready, but they didn't have time. The ship's side opened up like water rippling in a pond. A tall figure stepped out. She was the most beautiful and scary thing Samantha had ever seen. The alien stood 7 feet tall with skin that changed from blue to purple and seemed to glow from inside. She had 6 eyes on her face, arranged in a pattern. Those eyes looked at the humans like they were simple puzzles to solve. "That is Queen Lyra of the Stellaris Dominion," someone whispered near Samantha. No one knew how they knew this. Maybe the alien had put the thought in their heads. The base leader stepped forward with a man who was supposed to talk to aliens. The man tried to welcome Queen Lyra, but he moved his hands in a way that seemed to upset her. All 6 of her eyes narrowed and the glow under her skin got brighter. Samantha didn't think. She just acted. She had been watching the Queen's hands and copied the small movements she saw. Samantha stepped forward and moved her hands in the same pattern. The Queen's eyes widened. For a moment, everyone was quiet. Then Queen Lyra's face changed in a way that looked like a smile. No human had ever seen a Stellaris smile before. "This one," Queen Lyra said, though her mouth didn't move. The words just appeared in everyone's minds. "This one has the spirit of the stars in her eyes. She will be my liaison." Samantha felt her heart beat faster. She didn't know what liaison meant for these aliens. The base leader looked unhappy, but he didn't argue with the Queen. "Lieutenant Carter will show you around our base," he said stiffly. Queen Lyra looked only at Samantha. "I do not wish to see your base. I wish to speak with this one about matters that concern both our peoples." Samantha stood straighter. "I would be honored, Your Majesty." The Queen's ship opened wider. Inside, it looked like it was alive. The walls pulsed with light, and the floor seemed to breathe. Samantha hesitated for just a second before following the Queen inside. "Your fear is natural," Queen Lyra said in Samantha's mind, "but unnecessary. If I wished harm to humans, I would not have come alone." "Why did you come?" Samantha asked. The Queen moved to what seemed like a control room, though there were no buttons or screens, just pools of light that changed when the Queen moved her long fingers through them. "I came because I saw something in your world that my people need," she said, "and now I have found it." Her 6 eyes all focused on Samantha at once. It felt like being seen fully for the first time in her life. "I don't understand," Samantha said. "You will," the Queen promised. "First, I must show you what we face together." A wall of the ship became clear, showing the stars. But some of the stars were going dark as Samantha watched. "Something is eating the light," Samantha said. "Yes, they are called the Void Harbingers. They consume everything, light, energy, life. They have destroyed 17 of my worlds, and they are coming to your solar system next." Samantha felt cold. "Why would they come here? We're not as advanced as your people." The Queen moved closer. She smelled like a storm and flowers that don't grow on Earth. The Harbingers do not care about technology. They care about life force and humans. "Your species burns brighter in that way than any we have encountered," Samantha tried to understand. "You're saying they're coming to eat us? Like food?" "More like batteries," the Queen said. "They will drain your world until nothing lives. Unless we stop them." "How can we stop something that eats stars?" Samantha asked. The Queen's skin rippled with patterns of light. "That is why I needed to find someone like you. My scientists discovered something unusual about humans. Your bodies naturally resist the Harbinger's feeding. A small thing, but it could be the key to a weapon." Samantha felt dizzy with all this information. Why me? I'm just a guard who got in trouble last week. For the first time, the Queen seemed to hesitate. Our people have legends about finding strength in unlikely places. When I saw you step forward without fear, I knew you had what we needed. Outside the ship, the base leaders were arguing, probably about Samantha being alone with the alien Queen. But inside, time seemed different. Samantha felt like she was standing at the edge of something huge. What happens now? She asked. Queen Lyra's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. Now you learn about my world, and I learn about yours. We have very little time before the Harbingers arrive. As the Queen spoke, the ship came alive around them, filling with images of planets and stars and strange creatures that looked a bit like the Queen but all different. My people are old, Samantha Carter. We have lived among the stars when your ancestors were still learning to make fire. But for all our knowledge, we could not stop the Harbingers alone. Samantha watched as the images showed beautiful cities, falling to darkness. I will help in any way I can, she said. But I'm still not sure why you picked me. Queen Lyra moved her hand, and a light appeared between them, showing something like a DNA strand. Because, Samantha Carter, according to our oldest prophecies, the salvation of my people lies in union with yours. A joining that begins with a single pair. The Queen's meaning slowly became clear, and Samantha's eyes widened. You don't mean... Yes, said Queen Lyra. I have chosen you as my consort. Together we will either save our worlds or watch them fall. Olivia's old truck rumbled down the mountain road. Beside her, Nixara sat very still, her eyes fixed on the lights of Harbor View below. Who should we contact first? Olivia asked. The military? The government? Someone who will believe you, Nixara said. Someone who won't try to capture me before we can explain. Olivia thought for a moment. Kate Lawson. She works for the Defense Department. She was my roommate in college. If anyone will listen, it's her. Nixara nodded. The scales on her face shifted color slightly, showing her worry. What if this scout ship finds your vessel? Olivia asked, glancing at the alien woman. My ship is well hidden. Its systems are shut down to avoid detection. Nixara turned to look at Olivia. But we must hurry. The scout will call for the main fleet if it finds anything interesting on Earth. They drove in silence for a while. So many questions filled Olivia's mind. 23 years of questions. Why did it take you so long to come back? She finally asked. Nixara looked down at her hands. They were elegant hands with long fingers and small, delicate claws. The Dominion sent me far away after I returned from Earth. I think they suspected I had formed attachments here. They gave me missions at the edge of our territory. She paused. It took years to earn back their trust, to be given command of a ship that could make the journey. You planned this all along? To come back and warn us? Not at first, Nixara admitted. But when I learned of the invasion plans, I knew I had to return, to find you. The truck rounded a curve and the main road into town appeared ahead. Streetlights made pools of yellow on the wet pavement. There's something you should know, Olivia said, her voice tight. About what happened after you left. Nixara turned to her, waiting. Some people believed me when I reported your crash. A government team came. They took samples from the crash site. They questioned me for weeks. Olivia gripped the steering wheel harder. They've been watching me ever since. That's why I never left Harborview. They wanted me close in case you ever came back. Nixara's eyes widened. Then we may be driving into a trap. Maybe. Or maybe they'll be our best chance at preparing Earth for what's coming. Olivia gave her a quick smile. Don't worry, I didn't tell them everything about you. They reached the center of town. At this late hour, the streets were nearly empty. A few bars were still open, music drifting out onto the sidewalks. People walked arm in arm, laughing. None of them knew what was coming. Olivia pulled into a gas station and parked near the payphone. I need to call Kate, she explained. My cell phone might be monitored. Nixara watched as Olivia went to the phone booth and dialed. Through the glass, she could see Olivia talking urgently. her free hand moving to emphasize her words. After a few minutes, Olivia returned to the truck. Kate wants to meet us. There's a small airfield outside of town. She's sending a helicopter. Olivia started the engine again. She didn't sound surprised. I think they've been expecting something like this. The airfield was dark when they arrived. Just a small runway and a few hangars. They parked behind one of the buildings and waited. Tell me about the Dominion, Olivia said. Why do they want Earth? Nixara looked up at the night sky. My people have been expanding for thousands of years. We take worlds with resources we need. Usually these worlds are uninhabited, or have only primitive life forms. But Earth has humans. Yes. And that makes it complicated. Some in the Dominion want to simply remove all humans. Others suggest keeping some as workers. Nixara's voice grew heavy. Neither option is acceptable to me. Olivia reached out and touched Nixara's arm. That's why you came back. Not just for me. For you, Nixara corrected gently. And for what I learned from you. That connection between different beings has value. That understanding can be more powerful than conquest. A sound interrupted them. The whump-whump-whump of helicopter blades. A black shape appeared in the sky, moving towards them. That's our ride, Olivia said. The helicopter landed in the middle of the runway. Two people jumped out and ran towards them, crouching under the still spinning blades. Olivia, a woman called. She was tall and athletic, with short blonde hair. She wore civilian clothes, but her stance said military. Kate, Olivia called back. She got out of the truck. Thank you for coming. Kate Lawson stopped a few feet away, her eyes fixed on Nixara, who had also stepped out of the truck. So it's true, Kate breathed. You really did meet an alien. The man beside Kate raised a weapon. Ma'am, should I secure the extraterrestrial? Nixara tensed, ready to defend herself if needed. Stand down, Wilson, Kate ordered. We're here to talk, not start an interspecies incident. She approached Nixara, her hand extended. I'm Catherine Lawson, Special Advisor to the Secretary of Defense. Nixara looked at the offered hand, then carefully shook it as she had seen humans do. I am Commander Nixara Vess of the Celestial Dominion. Olivia says your people are planning an invasion, Kate said, getting straight to the point. Yes, a fleet of 47 ships will arrive in less than 3 days. Kate's face paled, but she remained professional. And you're here to help us? Why would you betray your own people? Nixara glanced at Olivia. Because sometimes loyalty must be to principles rather than to leaders. My people are wrong to attack. Yours. A strong wind blew across the airfield as the four of them stood there, the fate of Earth hanging in the balance. We need to go, Kate finally said. The secretary is waiting for us in Washington. They boarded the helicopter. As it lifted off, Nixara looked down at the small town below, at the homes and streets where humans lived their brief, bright lives. She had risked everything to save this place, to save these people who were so different from her own. The helicopter flew east, towards the capital. Inside, Kate and Olivia talked rapidly, making plans, discussing who needed to be contacted. The president will want to address the nation, Kate was saying. But we need to prepare people without causing panic. Wilson, the security officer, kept his eyes on Nixara, his hand never far from his weapon. Nixara closed her eyes and reached out with her mind to her ship, hidden in the forest. It was still safe. No one had found it. But the Dominion scout ship was circling the planet now, scanning, searching. Would it find signs of her presence? Would it detect her communications with Olivia's leaders? She opened her eyes to find Olivia watching her. Are you okay? Olivia asked softly. I'm fine, Nixara answered. Just checking on my ship. Olivia lowered her voice further. What will happen to you if the Dominion discovers what you've done? Death, Nixara said simply. Or worse, there are punishments among my people that can last for centuries. Olivia's face showed horror. Then why take the risk? Nixara was quiet for a moment. How could she explain that the 6 weeks she had spent with Olivia 23 years ago had changed her forever? that she had seen in this human a capacity for kindness, for understanding, for growth that her own people had lost long ago. "Some things," she finally said, "are worth any risk." The sky was beginning to lighten with the first hints of dawn when they reached Washington. The helicopter landed on the roof of a large, windowless building. "The Pentagon," Olivia explained, as they got out. Military headquarters. A group of serious-looking men and women waited for them. Their faces showed shock at the sight of Nixara, but they quickly composed themselves. "This way, please," one of them said. "The secretary is waiting with the Joint Chiefs." They were led through secure hallways, past armed guards who stared openly at Nixara. Finally, they reached a large conference room. Around a table sat the most powerful military leaders in the United States. At the head of the table was a woman in her 60s, with iron-gray hair and sharp eyes. She stood as they entered. "Dr. Winters," she acknowledged Olivia. Then she turned to Nixara. "And you must be the visitor we've been hearing about for the past 23 years. "I am Nixara Vess," the alien woman said with a slight bow. "I'm Secretary of Defense Abigail Morgan." The woman's voice was calm, but her eyes were assessing. "I understand we have very little time to prepare for an invasion." Nixara stepped forward. "Yes, and I have brought information that may help you defend your world." From her bag, she took the crystal device. "This contains plans for shield technology that can block Dominion weapons. It won't stop them completely, but it might give you time to negotiate rather than surrender." The secretary took the crystal, examining it closely. "And why should we trust you? For all we know, this could be a trap." Nixara straightened to her full height. The scales on her face flashed with determination. "Because I have broken every law of my people to bring you this warning. Because I believe Earth deserves to survive. And because," she glanced at Olivia, "I have seen the best of humanity and found it worthy of protection." The room fell silent as everyone considered her words. The fate of two worlds now rested on whether these humans could trust an alien who had come back after 23 years, an alien who had returned for the human she couldn't forget. The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Nixara stood before screens and maps explaining Dominion tactics to rooms full of military officials. She drew diagrams of the alien ships, showing their weak points. She described weapons that could destroy entire cities with a single blast. Through it all, Olivia stayed close. She helped translate complex scientific concepts when Nixara's explanations became too technical. She stood by the alien woman when some officials looked at her with open distrust. "The main fleet will exit what you call hyperspace approximately 300,000 miles from Earth," Nixara was saying. She pointed to a spot on a digital map of the solar system. "They will deploy in this formation." Her long fingers traced shapes in the air, which a computer program converted into ship positions. One of the generals leaned forward. "And their first target?" "Major communication centers," Nixara said. "Then military installations. Then power plants. They want to disable your ability to organize a response." Secretary Morgan, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. "How long will it take to implement the shield technology you've provided?" A scientist answered. "With the schematics Commander Vess has given us, we can modify our satellite network, but it will take at least 36 hours. We have less than that before the fleet arrives," Nixara reminded them. The room grew quiet. The enormity of the threat seemed to settle over everyone like a heavy blanket. "There might be another way," Olivia said suddenly. All eyes turned to her. "Nixara's ship. It has technology that could speed up the process." Nixara looked at her with surprise. "My ship's systems are not compatible with Earth technology." "Maybe not directly," Olivia countered. "But what about your ship's fabrication unit? Could it create the components we need?" Nixara considered this. "Possibly, but my ship is still in harbor view, and the Dominion scout vessel is in orbit scanning for signs of my presence." Secretary Morgan stood up. "Dr. Winters, Commander Vess, come with me." She led them out of the conference room and down a hallway to a smaller office. Once inside, she closed the door. "I need to know something," she said, facing Nixara directly. "Is there any possibility that this is all an elaborate trick? That you're working with your people to weaken our defenses before the attack? Olivia started to protest, but Nixara raised a hand to stop her. A valid question, the alien woman said. In your position, I would ask the same. She met the secretary's gaze. I can offer you no proof beyond what I have already given. The shield. Plans are real. The warning is real. My presence here, against the laws of my people, should tell you something of my intentions. Morgan studied her for a long moment. Then she nodded. Very well. I've ordered a stealth aircraft to take you back to your ship. If there's any chance. It can help us prepare. We need to try. The Dominion scout will be watching, Nixara warned. Our stealth technology is good, Morgan assured her. Not perfect, but good enough to give you a chance. An hour later, Nixara and Olivia were on a small black aircraft. Its strange angles and dark material made it nearly invisible against the night sky. This feels familiar, Olivia said as they flew west. You and me, trying to reach your ship before anyone finds it. Nixara smiled, her face lighting up slightly. Except last time you were helping me leave, now you're helping me stay. Are you sure about this? Olivia asked, suddenly serious. Helping us means you can never go home. Nixara looked out the small window at the stars. Somewhere out there was her home world, a place of crystal cities and deep violet oceans. She would never see it again. Home is not always where you are born, she said softly. Sometimes it is where you find connection. The aircraft landed in a clearing near where Nixara had left her ship. The pilot, a woman with dark skin and steady hands, kept the engines running. Be quick, she told them. The longer we stay, the greater the chance of detection. Nixara led the way through the trees. The pre-dawn light made the forest ghostly and strange. After a few minutes of walking, they reached another clearing. At first, it appeared empty. Then Nixara made a gesture with her hand, and the air shimmered. Her ship appeared, sleek, organic, unlike any human vessel. Wow, the pilot whispered, having followed them despite orders to stay with her aircraft. It's beautiful. Nixara approached the ship and placed her palm on its surface. The material rippled like water, and an opening appeared. Come, she said to Olivia. I'll need your help inside. Olivia followed her into the ship. The interior was a single chamber that seemed to shift and change as they moved through it. Surfaces glowed with soft blue light. Strange symbols floated in the air. This is like a dream, Olivia said, reaching out to touch a panel that rippled under her fingers. The fabrication unit is here, Nixara said, moving to a section of the wall. She placed both hands against it and closed her eyes. The ship responded to her thoughts, forming a small chamber in the wall. We can use it to create the components needed for your shield network. Olivia watched in wonder as Nixara communicated silently with her ship. The alien woman's face was peaceful, focused. Her skin glowed more brightly, and the scales along her cheeks pulsed with color. I'm inputting the specifications now, Nixara explained. The ship will convert its own materials to create what we need. Suddenly, an alarm sounded, a strange musical tone that filled the ship. Nixara's eyes snapped open. The scout has detected us. It's changing course to investigate. Olivia felt fear grip her chest. How much time do we have? Minutes. Perhaps less. Nixara moved quickly to another part of the ship. A screen appeared in the air before her, showing a map of the sky above them. A red dot was moving towards their location. The fabrication has started, but it will take time to complete. We need to hide the ship again, Olivia said. The scout has already locked onto our energy signature. Hiding won't help now. Nixara turned to face Olivia. You need to take what components have been created and leave. I'll use the ship to draw the scout away. No. Olivia grabbed Nixara's arm. They'll catch you. They'll kill you. Perhaps not. My ship is faster than a scout vessel. Nixara's eyes softened as she looked at Olivia. We have no choice. Earth needs these components to have any chance against the main fleet. The pilot appeared at the door of the ship. We've got company coming. Military vehicles, heading this way fast. Your people have detected the scouts' approach, Nixara said. They're coming to investigate. Olivia felt trapped between two dangers. We can't let either side capture your ship. The technology, I know. Nixara made a decision. We take what components are ready. Then I'll program the ship to leave Earth's atmosphere. The scout will follow it. And you? Olivia asked, her voice breaking slightly. I stay. To help finish what we've started. The fabrication unit chimed. A drawer-like opening appeared, containing several small, crystalline devices. These will amplify your satellite signals, creating a shield strong enough to resist the first wave of Dominion weapons, Nixara explained, gathering the devices into a bag. Not a perfect solution, but enough to force them to negotiate rather than simply destroy. The alarm tone changed, becoming more urgent. The scout has launched pursuit craft, Nixara said, reading symbols that floated in the air. Small, fast ships designed to capture targets. She handed the bag to Olivia. Go. Take these to your scientists. Not without you, Olivia insisted. Nixara placed her hands on Olivia's shoulders. For a moment they stood close, the human woman and the alien commander. Despite their differences, one with warm skin and dark eyes, the other with scales that shimmered like opals, they understood each other perfectly in that moment. I will follow, Nixara promised, but I must set the ship's course first. Reluctantly, Olivia took the bag and backed away. The pilot was waiting at the door, her eyes wide as she watched the alien technology at work. 2 minutes, Nixara said. Then be ready to run for your aircraft. Olivia nodded and left the ship with the pilot. Outside, the sky was growing lighter with dawn. Birds sang in the trees, unaware of the drama unfolding above them. Inside the ship, Nixara worked quickly. Her hands danced across surfaces that responded to her touch. She was programming the ship to fly into deep space, away from Earth. The eye or scout would follow, thinking she was aboard. But first she needed to erase something. The ship contained her memories, her personal log. In it were details about Olivia, about why Nixara had really returned to Earth after so many years. If the Dominion ever recovered the ship, they would use that information to punish her and to find Olivia. She couldn't allow that. Delete personal archives, she told the ship. Remove all references to Earth visit from 23 years ago. The ship hummed, questioning the order. Confirm deletion, Nixara said firmly. Security Protocol Alpha. A soft tone acknowledged the command. 23 years of longing, of planning, of hope, gone from the ship's memory, but not from hers. With one last command, she set the departure sequence. Then she ran from the ship, the door sealing behind her. Olivia and the pilot were waiting at the edge of the clearing. Above them, the sky had taken on a strange, rippling quality. The Dominion scout was descending, its cloaking systems failing, as it prepared to capture Nixara's vessel. Now, Nixara called, reaching them. Back in Washington, a team of scientists gathered around a table covered with the strange crystal devices Nixara had created. They turned them over in their hands, scanned them with instruments, and argued about how they worked. Nixara watched, with patience. She sat beside Olivia in the large laboratory that had been cleared for their use. The building hummed with activity as the nation prepared for an invasion most of its people still knew nothing about. Your scientists seem confused, Nixara observed. Olivia smiled slightly. They're trying to understand technology that's thousands of years ahead of ours. I'd be worried if they weren't confused. A woman in a lab coat approached them. Dr. Susan Ford was the head of the team, a brilliant physicist with quick eyes and quicker hands. These crystals, she said to Nixara, they're not just amplifiers, are they? They're actually small computers. Yes, Nixara confirmed. They will rewrite the programming of your satellites, creating a network that can generate a defensive field. Dr. Ford shook her head in wonder. We've been trying to develop shield technology for decades, and here you've given it to us in a handful of crystals. Not given, Nixara corrected. Loaned. Once this crisis is over, this technology must be destroyed. The scientist's face fell. But the advances we could make would change your world too quickly, Nixara said firmly, and would draw the attention of others besides the Dominion. There are many species in the galaxy. Not all are as restrained as my people. Dr. Ford didn't look happy, but she nodded. I understand. For now, we focus on implementation. We've got teams ready to launch to the 12 key satellites we need to modify. How soon can they begin? Olivia asked. The first team launches in an hour, but it will take time to reach and modify all 12 satellites. We're cutting it close. Young man ran into the lab, his face flushed with excitement or fear. The president is about to address the nation. They're bringing TVs into the conference room. Everyone moved quickly to a large room next door. Several televisions had been set up. On the screens, the seal of the president appeared, and then the president herself. She was a small woman with a serious face and calm eyes. My fellow Americans, she began, and citizens of all nations watching around the world, I speak to you today about a matter of utmost importance and urgency. She paused, and Nixara could see the weight of her words in the set of her shoulders. 24 hours ago, we received confirmation of something many have long suspected. We are not alone in the universe. An advanced civilization has made contact with Earth. Murmurs ran through the room. This was it. The moment when humanity learned the truth. This contact has come in the form of a warning, the president continued. A fleet of ships from a civilization known as the Celestial Dominion is approaching Earth with hostile intent. They will arrive within 36 hours. The room fell silent. On screen, the president's face remained calm, though her eyes showed the strain. I want to be clear. This is not a time for panic. It is a time for unity and preparation. Thanks to the courage of one member of this alien civilization, who chose to warn us despite great personal risk, we have technology that may help defend our planet. Nixara felt Olivia's hand slip into hers and squeeze gently. All nations have agreed to work together, the president said. Military forces are being positioned. Civilian defense measures are being implemented. We face this threat as one people, one Earth. The president spoke for several more minutes, explaining what would happen next, asking for calm, promising that everything possible was being done. When the broadcast ended, the room remained quiet. Then everyone began to talk at once. Some looked afraid. Others seemed determined. A few glanced at Nixara with new respect. Secretary Morgan entered the room and called for silence. The Dominion scout ship has returned to Earth orbit, she announced. It's broadcasting a message on all frequencies. A technician hurried to one of the screens and adjusted it. The image of the president was replaced by a face similar to Nixara's, but older, male, with scales and patterns that marked high rank. People of Earth, the alien said, his voice translated into English. I am High Commander Trazek of the Celestial Dominion. We have detected unauthorized technology transfer to your planet. In violation of Dominion law, the traitor responsible will be found and punished. Nixara stood very still. She knew Trazek well. He had been her commanding officer for many years. A hard leader, but fair. Until now. Your world has been selected for Dominion expansion. Trazek continued. Resistance is pointless and will only lead to unnecessary destruction. Surrender peacefully, and your population will be treated with dignity as we establish control. Treated with dignity, Olivia muttered. What does that mean? Relocation to controlled areas, Nixara answered quietly. Labor camps, essentially. On screen, Trazek's face hardened. We know you harbor a Dominion traitor. Deliver Commander Nixara Vest to us, and terms of surrender will be more favorable. The broadcast ended. The screen returned to news coverage where shocked reporters tried to make sense of what was happening. Secretary Morgan turned to Nixara. They want you. Yes. Nixara's face was unreadable. I expected this. And if we handed you over? The secretary asked, watching her closely. Would they really offer better terms? Olivia stepped forward angrily. We are not handing her over. She risked everything to warn us. But Nixara placed a hand on Olivia's shoulder. The secretary is right, to consider all options. She turned to Morgan. But no, they would not honor such an agreement. Once they had me, they would proceed as planned. Morgan nodded as if this confirmed something. Then we continue with our defense preparations. Dr. Ford, what's the status of the satellite modifications? First team has launched. The others are on schedule. The scientist checked her tablet. If all goes well, we should have the shield operational just before the main fleet arrives. And if the scout ship interferes? Morgan asked. Nixara answered. It will. Once Trazek realizes you're modifying your satellites, he'll try to stop you. Then we need to distract it, Morgan decided. Or disable it. Your weapons can't penetrate its shields, Nixara warned. Maybe not, Olivia said suddenly. But what about your weapons? You're a Dominion commander, you know their systems, their weaknesses. All eyes turned to Nixara. She considered the idea. Yes, I could design a weapon that might disable the EU scout ship temporarily. Not destroy it, but perhaps blind its sensors long enough for your teams to complete their work. Morgan didn't hesitate. Do it. Whatever you need, you'll have it. The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. Nixara worked with human scientists and engineers to modify an Earth missile with Dominion technology. She drew diagrams, explained concepts, guided hands that built something never before seen on Earth. Olivia stayed by her side, translating complex ideas into terms the humans could understand, keeping everyone focused on the goal. As they worked, reports came in from around the world. Some places saw panic with people fleeing cities. Others witnessed remarkable calm. Governments shared information freely. Old enemies set aside differences in the face of a threat to all humanity. It's working, Nixara said softly to Olivia during a rare quiet moment. Your people are uniting. Olivia looked tired but determined. We're good at that when we need to be. Not always, but when it really counts. A technician interrupted them. The third satellite team reports they're being tracked by the scout ship. They're trying evasive maneuvers, but it's gaining on them. Nixara straightened. Is our weapon ready? Final calibrations are complete, the chief engineer reported. But we've never tested it. We don't know if it will work. It will work, Nixara said with certainty. I need to speak with whoever will fire it. Minutes later, she stood in a military command center. Screens showed the position of the scout ship as it pursued the human spacecraft carrying the crystal devices. A naval officer approached her. Commander Vess, I'm Admiral Lisa Chen. I'll be coordinating the missile launch. Nixara nodded in greeting. The timing must be perfect. Too soon, and the scout will detect the missile and evade. Too late, and your team will be captured or destroyed. Admiral studied the screens. We've positioned a submarine beneath the scout ship's path. We'll have one chance when it passes overhead. The missile must detonate exactly 500 meters from the scout's hull, Nixara explained. No closer, or it will be destroyed before the pulse can activate. No further, or the effect will be too weak. Understood. Admiral Chen moved to a communication station. Submarine Barracuda, this is command. Target approaching your position. Prepare to fire on my mark. On the main screen, they watched the scout ship's path. It was closing in on the human spacecraft, which was trying desperately to reach the satellite it needed to modify. The scout is deploying capture beams, an officer reported. Almost in position, Admiral Chen said, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. 3, 2, 1. Fire. Somewhere in the ocean below, a missile launched from beneath the waves. It streaked upward, aimed not at the scout ship itself, but at a point in space near it. Missile away, came the report. 15 seconds to target. Everyone held their breath. On screen, the scout ship continued its pursuit, unaware of the danger. 10 seconds. The scout's capture beams activated, reaching for the human spacecraft. Secretary Morgan studied Nixara's face. You're proposing to sacrifice yourself. I am proposing to buy you time, Nixara corrected. The Dominion follows certain protocols. If I surrender and request a formal hearing, tradition demands they Grant it before taking military action. And you think they'll honor this tradition? Even now? Morgan asked. High Commander Trazek is many things, but he respects our laws, Nixara said. It's why he rose to his position. Olivia moved closer to Nixara. There has to be another way. Admiral Chen interrupted. The Dominion fleet is moving into attack formation. Estimate 30 minutes until they're in range of Earth. Morgan made her decision. Make the call, Commander Vess. Nixara nodded. I'll need a direct channel to the Dominion flagship. Technicians rushed to set up the communication. As they worked, Nixara turned to Olivia. I need you to do something for me, she said quietly. Something important. Olivia blinked back tears. Anything. If this works, your people will have time to complete the shield network. But after that, you'll need more. Nixara took Olivia's hands. There's a hidden compartment in my quarters where I've been staying. Inside is a data crystal with information about other species who have resisted the Dominion, potential allies for Earth. You planned for this possibility, Olivia realized. I hoped it wouldn't be necessary, but hope is not a strategy. Nixara squeezed Olivia's hands gently. Find those allies. Earth cannot stand alone, a technician called out. Channel ready, Commander. Nixara took a deep breath and moved to the communication station. On the screen before her, static cleared to reveal the bridge of the Dominion flagship. High Commander Trazek sat in a command chair, his scaled face showing no surprise at seeing her. Commander Vess, he said, his translator converting his words to English. I expected to find you among the humans. High Commander, Nixara responded, bowing her head slightly. I request a formal audience under the protocols of command dispute. Murmurs could be heard from other Dominion officers on the bridge. Trazek's eyes narrowed. You dare invoke the protocols after your treason? After giving advanced technology to a primitive species? It is my right, Nixara said firmly. Unless the Dominion has abandoned its own laws during my absence. A tense silence followed. Everyone in the Earth Command Center held their breath, waiting for the High Commander's response. Finally, Trazek nodded. Very well. You will be brought aboard for a formal hearing, but know this, the outcome is certain. Your actions have only one punishment. I understand, Nixara said. I will transport to these coordinates. She sent a location, a remote area, away from population centers. And High Commander, I come alone, and I expect to be taken alone. Any movement against Earth before my hearing would violate the protocols. Trazek's face hardened, but he nodded again. You have 1 hour, Nixara Vess. Then judgment will be rendered. The communication ended. Nixara turned to face the humans. You have 1 hour. Perhaps a bit more if the hearing is prolonged. Will that be enough time? Morgan asked Dr. Ford. The scientist checked her data. If the remaining teams move at maximum speed, yes, just barely. Morgan turned back to Nixara. This is a suicide mission, you know that. I know the Dominion laws, Nixara replied, and I made my choice when I first turned away from their path. Her eyes found Olivia. Some things are worth any price. Preparations moved quickly after that. A helicopter was ready to take Nixara to the coordinates she had sent. Before boarding, she spoke briefly with Olivia in private. If I don't return, Nixara began. Don't say that, Olivia interrupted. If I don't return, Nixara insisted gently. Know that coming back to find you was worth everything that followed. In 23 years of searching the stars, I found nothing as remarkable as 6 weeks with you. Olivia couldn't hold back her tears any longer. I waited for you. For years I waited. Don't make me wait again, not knowing if you're alive or dead. Nixara touched Olivia's face, her cool fingers wiping away a tear. My people live far longer than humans. We don't speak of love as you do. But I have learned that some connections transcend language, transcend species. What I feel for you has no name in my world, but it has guided me across the galaxy. She leaned down and pressed her forehead against Olivia's, a gesture of deep intimacy among her kind. Whatever happens next, remember that. Then she was gone, walking toward the waiting helicopter, her tall figure straight and proud. The next hour was the longest of Olivia's life. She stayed in the command center, watching as satellite teams raced to complete their work. On the main screen, the Dominion fleet held position, their weapons powered down as promised. Satellite 5 is online, came a report. Crystal integrated successfully. Satellite 8 reporting successful modification, another voice called. Admiral, Chen approached Olivia. The pattern is forming, look. On a display showing Earth from space, a faint web of energy was beginning to appear, connecting the modified satellites. Is it working? Olivia asked. We think so, Dr. Ford replied, joining them. Energy readings match Commander Vess's specifications, but we won't know for sure until it's tested against a Dominion weapon. Olivia checked the time. 55 minutes had passed since Nixara had departed. What was happening on the Dominion flagship? Was she defending herself? Was she already gone? A sudden alert broke her thoughts. Energy spike detected from the Dominion fleet. An officer called out. They're powering weapons. The hour isn't up, Olivia protested. Admiral Chen's face was grim. They're not waiting. On the tactical display, one of the Dominion ships moved forward, separating from the fleet. Its forward section began to glow with gathered energy. They're targeting our last satellite team, the tactical officer reported. The one that hasn't completed modifications yet. Evacuate that team now, Morgan ordered. No time, came the response. Dominion weapon will fire in 20 seconds. Olivia felt her heart sink. Had Nixara's sacrifice been for nothing? Had Trazek broken his word? Wait, Admiral Chen said suddenly. That's not the flagship, it's a different ship. On the display, they could see the Dominion flagship moving to intercept the vessel that was preparing to fire. 15 seconds to weapon discharge. Olivia held her breath. What was happening up there? 10 seconds. 5. The flagship is firing on the other Dominion vessel. Everyone watched in shock as the Dominion flagship launched an attack on its own fleet member. The shot struck the weapon array of the other ship, disrupting its firing sequence. What's going on? Morgan demanded. Before anyone could answer, a communication request came through. Admiral Chen accepted it immediately. On the main screen appeared not Trazek, but Nixara. Behind her, they could see the bridge of the Dominion flagship. Several officers lay on the floor, stunned or disabled. Trazek was nowhere to be seen. Nixara, Olivia cried out in shock. How? No time to explain, Nixara said quickly. I've temporarily taken control of the flagship, but it won't last. Some of the fleet are still loyal to Trazek. They're moving against me. Indeed, on the tactical display, several Dominion vessels were changing position, turning their weapons toward the flagship. Is your shield network complete? Nixara asked. Dr. Ford checked her data. Almost. The last team needs 3 more minutes. Nixara nodded. I'll try to give you that time. She turned to speak to someone off-screen, giving orders in her native language. The flagship began to move, positioning itself between Earth and the hostile Dominion ships. Nixara, Olivia said urgently, you can't fight the entire fleet. I don't intend to, Nixara replied. Just delay them. The flagship's shields can withstand several direct hits. On the tactical display, they watched as the flagship engaged 2 of the advancing Dominion vessels. Energy weapons fired, lighting up space with brilliant flashes. Satellite 12 is online, an officer announced. The shield network is complete. Dr. Ford rushed to a control station. Activating now. Energy pattern forming. Connecting. Shield is powering up. Around Earth, the faint web of energy began to strengthen, filling in until it formed a complete sphere around the planet. It was nearly transparent, visible only as a slight shimmer in the atmosphere. Shield at 60% power, Dr. Ford reported. 70%, 80%. On the tactical display, they could see the flagship taking heavy fire from multiple Dominion vessels. Its shields were weakening. "Nixara," Olivia called. "The shield is almost ready. You need to break away." The alien woman's face appeared on screen again, now marked with a cut along one cheek. "My ship is damaged. Engines at half power." Behind her, the bridge was filling with smoke. "But I have one more move to make." She turned to give orders, and the flagship began to move, not away from the fighting, but directly toward the main concentration of Dominion vessels. "What are you doing?" Olivia asked in horror. "Creating confusion," Nixara answered, "and giving Earth time to prepare for what comes next." The flagship accelerated, driving straight at the heart of the Dominion fleet. The other ships scattered, trying to avoid collision with their own command vessel. "Shield at full power," Dr. Ford announced. "The network is stable and operational." On screen, Nixara smiled. "Good. Now Earth has a chance." The image began to break up with interference. "Olivia, remember what I told you. Find the allies and know that I—"